Ladies and gentlemen, there are 24 hours in a day. That's 1,440 minutes. And yet, your future, your fortune, your fulfillment can be altered, transformed by claiming just one of them. 1 hour a day can change your life. Let that sink in. It's not the hours we spend in busyness that define our destiny. It's the deliberate, focused, purpose-driven hours we devote to building ourselves. Every towering success, every triumph, every breakthrough began with a single decision: to direct time with intention. You don't need a miracle, you need a method. Success is never an accident. It is the result of consistent, intelligent effort. You can take charge of your mind, your habits, and your future, but you must choose to do so daily. What would happen if for 1 hour a day you committed to mastering a skill, reading a book, writing your vision, building your body, refining your craft, or feeding your spirit? You would evolve. You would outgrow your past. You would reconstruct your reality. 1 hour a day may not seem like much, but over a year, that's 365 hours. Over 5 years, 1,825 hours. That's enough time to become an expert in almost anything. Enough to build a business, write books, change your mindset, or transform your health. But it requires desire, discipline, determination. No one is coming to save you. The life you want is already inside you, but it must be called forth by action. Small, daily, unstoppable action. So I challenge you. Carve out your hour. Defend it like a lion. Let that hour become sacred, a contract between your current self and the greater self waiting to emerge. Start today. Start now, because 1 hour a day can change your life. Time is abundant, but intention is rare. Each of us is gifted the same 24 hours a day, yet how many of those hours truly serve the life we want to build? We often speak of not having time, when in truth, it is not a shortage of hours, but a lack of conscious direction. Most people drift through their days reacting, distracted, pulled by obligation and noise, rather than choosing with clarity and purpose. Time passes, and with it, potential is lost, not because it was absent, but because it was unfocused. You don't need to overhaul your life in a day. You need only begin. And that beginning often comes in the form of a single intentional hour. 1 hour a day devoted fully to a dream, a skill, a goal, or a better version of yourself becomes the seed of transformation. This hour is not about speed, it's about direction. It's not about impressing others, it's about honoring yourself. And in that hour, something powerful happens. You separate yourself from the masses. While others are reacting, you are creating. While others are consuming, you are growing. It's okay to feel fear, doubt, and uncertainty. These emotions are not signs that you are failing. They are proof that you are alive and reaching beyond your comfort. You don't have to be perfect to begin. You don't have to know exactly where the path will lead. You simply need the courage to start walking. Vulnerability is not a sign of weakness. It's a demonstration of courage. To show up daily for your growth, especially when it feels uncomfortable or uncertain, is one of the greatest acts of strength. Real power doesn't roar. It endures. When you dedicate 1 hour a day to the pursuit of your higher self, you declare to the world and to yourself, I matter. My growth matters. My future is worth building. This single hour becomes sacred, an act of faith in your own becoming. It is not borrowed time, it is invested time. And the returns it brings are measured not just in success, but in self-respect, clarity, and freedom. One focused hour a day leads to not just improvement, transformation. There is a profound difference between casually touching a goal and consistently engaging with it. Most people spend their days scattered, giving their energy in fragments, chasing distractions that leave them unfulfilled. But when you give one full, undiluted hour to something that matters, something that stretches your mind, strengthens your body, deepens your character, or builds your future, you activate the hidden power of compounded effort. In that hour, something remarkable happens. You move from wishing to working, from dreaming to doing. You begin to carve a new identity, one that is no longer waiting for the right time, the perfect moment, or the external validation. You become someone who shows up. And it is in showing up day after day that the shift takes place. Not all at once, but undeniably. You begin to think differently. You start to act with more clarity. You make better choices, not because someone told you to, but because you're becoming the kind of person who does. This hour, done consistently, becomes more than just time spent. It becomes a mirror reflecting your desire, your discipline, and your determination. It teaches you that you are not powerless, that your effort has weight, that progress is always within reach, not in giant leaps, but in steady, deliberate steps. You begin to feel a quiet confidence, not the kind that boasts, but the kind that is built, earned, and real. Transformation doesn't require hours of grinding or burning out in the name of achievement. It requires focus. Just one committed hour where you silence the noise, close the door on distraction, and say to the world, "This is my time." Over days, weeks, and months, this hour reshapes your mind, rewires your habits, and redirects your life. You start to become someone who doesn't just hope for better, but creates it. Not eventually, now. One focused hour at a time. Success is the result of deliberate, consistent effort. It does not arrive by accident, luck, or wishful thinking. It is earned, not in grand gestures, but in small daily decisions made with purpose. Every achievement that stands the test of time is built on a foundation of quiet persistence. Those who rise are not necessarily the most talented, the most fortunate, or even the most intelligent. They are the most committed. They are the ones who choose to show up, even when no one is watching. They are the ones who keep going when motivation fades and the path feels unclear. Effort, in its most powerful form, is not chaotic or desperate. It is measured. It is intentional. It is fueled by a clear vision and guided by a sense of purpose. This kind of effort may not always yield immediate results, but it always creates momentum, and momentum, once built, becomes a force of its own. It carries you forward on the days when energy is low, when doubt is loud, and when progress feels slow. Because success is not the reward of occasional intensity, it is the outcome of relentless consistency. There is something deeply empowering about realizing that your actions matter, that every hour you invest in your growth, every task you complete with care, every challenge you face head-on is adding up, quietly, steadily, invisibly at first, but undeniably over time. You begin to understand that you are not a victim of circumstance. You are a builder. You are crafting something meaningful with your choices, your habits, and your grit. This kind of success may not always be glamorous in the beginning, It might look like early mornings, late nights, sacrifices others don't understand, but it is real and it is lasting. Because what you build with effort cannot be taken from you. It becomes part of who you are. Every breakthrough you seek is waiting on the other side of persistence. And the beautiful truth is this: you don't have to do it all at once, you just have to do it, one deliberate step at a time. Daily discipline creates long-term freedom. It may seem like a contradiction at first. Discipline, after all, sounds restrictive, while freedom suggests ease and spontaneity. But in truth, it is only through discipline that true freedom is achieved. Discipline is the quiet architect behind every life of purpose, strength, and fulfillment. It is not about punishment or deprivation. It is about direction. It is the daily act of choosing what you want most over what you want now. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, no matter how small, you are building trust. And with that trust comes power. The power to follow through, to resist distraction, to rise above your past patterns. Discipline does not ask for perfection. It asks for presence. It asks for a return to your intention again and again until the action becomes part of who you are. Over time, it becomes easier, not because the world becomes less chaotic, but because you become stronger. Freedom is not the absence of structure. It is the result of mastering your own. When you commit to daily discipline, you begin to shape your reality instead of being shaped by it. You wake up with purpose. You work with clarity. You rest without guilt. You begin to experience a life where your actions align with your values, where your goals no longer sit on the shelf gathering dust, but move forward. One step, 1 hour, 1 day at a time. This kind of freedom is not loud. It does not need to prove itself. It is felt in the quiet confidence of knowing that you are in control of your choices, that you are not a slave to impulse, to delay, or to external opinion, that you are living deliberately. Discipline gives you the freedom to create, to grow, to explore, and to enjoy life without regret. It clears the path of internal resistance so your potential can move freely. And when you practice it daily, even in the smallest ways, it becomes not a burden, but a gateway to everything you've ever wanted to become. Daily discipline creates long-term freedom. It is the unseen force behind every meaningful achievement, the quiet habit that liberates you from chaos, confusion, and stagnation. While many chase quick wins or easy escapes, discipline invites you to build something lasting, brick by brick, day by day. It is not flashy, it does not demand attention, but it delivers results that temporary motivation never will. At first, discipline can feel uncomfortable. Waking early, saying no to distractions, committing to a process even when the outcome isn't guaranteed. But in time, the discomfort fades, and in its place grows a deep sense of strength, because you begin to realize that you are no longer controlled by circumstance, emotion, or fleeting desire. You are guided by intention. This is where real freedom lives, not in the absence of rules, but in the presence of purpose. Without discipline, you drift. You react. You fall into patterns that may offer short-term comfort, but long-term regret. But when you live with daily discipline, you take command of your time, your habits, and your future. You create systems that support your success, not sabotage it. The most powerful freedom is not found in doing whatever you want, whenever you want. It's in knowing that you can trust yourself, that you will do what needs to be done even when no one is watching, that you don't need to wait for inspiration because you've built a rhythm that carries you forward regardless of mood or external conditions. Freedom is waking up with peace because you've honored your priorities. It's being able to rest without anxiety because you know you've done the work. It's the ability to say yes to greater opportunities because you've done the daily labor that prepared you for them. Discipline doesn't limit you, it positions you. It sharpens your edge. It builds the resilience you'll need when life tests you, and it unlocks doors that talent and luck alone never could. Daily discipline is not the enemy of freedom, it is its foundation. One decision at a time, it builds a life you don't need to escape from, a life you can be proud of because you shaped it with purpose and lived it with integrity. Daily discipline creates long-term freedom. At first glance, discipline and freedom may seem like opposites, one demanding structure, the other promising ease. But true freedom is not found in doing whatever you want, whenever you want. It's found in living with intention, mastering your time, and aligning your actions with your highest values. And that kind of life is only possible through discipline practiced every single day. Discipline is the daily decision to do what matters most, even when it's inconvenient. It is choosing to act based on purpose rather than emotion. When you rise early to train, study, build, or create, even when you'd rather stay in comfort, you're claiming ownership over your future. You're proving to yourself that your goals are not just wishes, they are commitments. Each disciplined action is a deposit into the life you say you want, and over time, those deposits compound into strength, confidence, and success. Without discipline, time slips through your fingers. You become reactive instead of proactive. You chase comfort but find stress. You make promises to yourself and then break them, and with each broken promise, your confidence erodes. But with discipline, you do the opposite. You build trust with yourself. And that trust becomes a foundation for real freedom. Freedom to choose your path. Freedom to take risks because you've done the preparation. Freedom to live without regret, knowing you've honored your potential. Daily discipline doesn't require perfection. It asks for consistency. It doesn't demand giant leaps. It asks for small, repeated steps in the right direction. You don't need to move fast, but you do need to move forward. That daily forward motion, however modest, creates momentum, and that momentum becomes unstoppable. What begins as a hard choice eventually becomes a habit. What once felt like sacrifice becomes a source of pride, and what once seemed rigid and restrictive becomes the very thing that makes your dreams possible. Discipline is the gatekeeper to greatness, and those willing to meet it daily unlock a life of freedom, not someday, but starting now. Change doesn't require a revolution. It starts with routine. The biggest transformations in life are rarely sparked by one grand moment of inspiration or some sudden sweeping overhaul. Real change begins quietly, almost invisibly, in the small actions you take every day. It begins the moment you decide that today you will no longer ignore the voice inside you asking for more. It begins with a shift in mindset, a choice to act, and the willingness to do it again tomorrow. We often believe that we need to wait for the right time, the perfect plan, or a burst of motivation to make lasting change. But that belief only delays progress. The truth is, you don't need a revolution. You need rhythm. You need habits that serve your growth. And habits are not built overnight. They're built in the ordinary, in the repetition, in the commitment to do the simple thing again and again until it becomes part of who you are. Routine is powerful because it grounds you. It keeps you steady in a world that's constantly shifting. When you establish a daily practice, even something as small as waking up 30 minutes earlier to read, to move, to reflect, you create structure. And that structure gives shape to progress. It gives you something to hold on to when life gets chaotic, and something to return to when your motivation fades. It's not about doing everything at once. It's about doing something consistently. One action done daily carries far more weight than 100 done sporadically. The key is to choose a routine that aligns with your values and goals, and then honor it, protect it, let it grow roots. Over time, the routine becomes identity. And identity is what sustains change when emotions fluctuate and the initial excitement wears off. You no longer have to force progress, you become progress. And the change you once thought required a revolution reveals itself to have always been within reach, quietly waiting to be unlocked by the simple daily acts of discipline, presence, and purpose. Your future self depends on what you do today, not tomorrow, not next week, not someday when life slows down or circumstances feel ideal. The choices you make right now, the thoughts you entertain, the habits you repeat, the actions you commit to, are shaping the person you are becoming. Every moment is a seed, and whether you're aware of it or not, you are planting your future in the soil of your present. It's easy to believe that the future will somehow fix itself, that clarity, motivation, and results will magically appear when the time is right. But the truth is, nothing changes until you do. The life you want is not waiting in some distant chapter. It begins with the sentence you're writing today. Your future self, the one you imagine to be stronger, wiser, more fulfilled, is relying on you to show up now, to do the hard things, to stay the course, to take the step, even when it's small, even when no one sees it. Every workout you complete, every page you read, every hour you dedicate to growth, every temptation you resist, every intentional decision you make, it all adds up. Nothing is wasted when it's done with purpose. Your daily actions, no matter how insignificant they seem, are the building blocks of your identity. And over time, identity shapes destiny. You don't need to have all the answers right now. You just need to act in alignment with the future you want to create. Think about that version of yourself. What time do they wake up? What do they focus on? How do they carry themselves? Begin living like that today, even in the smallest ways, not perfectly, because your future isn't built in a day, it's built daily, with effort, with discipline, with presence. The gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't closed by chance. It's closed by choice. And every choice you make today is either a step toward the life you want or a step away from it. Excuses steal time. Commitment creates momentum. Every time you make an excuse, you trade a moment of potential for a moment of comfort. You delay progress, stall growth, and reinforce the belief that it's okay to wait, to pause, to put your dreams on hold. But time does not wait. And the more you allow excuses to fill the space where action should be, the further you drift from the life you could be living. Excuses often sound reasonable. I'm too tired. I'm too busy. I don't know enough yet. They wear the mask of logic, but beneath them lies fear. Fear of failure, fear of discomfort, fear of change, and that fear, when left unchallenged, becomes a habit of deflecting responsibility, a habit of waiting for the perfect conditions, a habit of giving your power away. Commitment, on the other hand, changes everything. When you commit, truly commit, you stop negotiating with yourself. You stop seeking shortcuts. You stop waiting for motivation. Commitment says, I don't need it to be easy. I just need it to be worth it. And from that place, momentum is born. You start moving forward, and with each step, the path becomes clearer. You no longer question whether or not to take action. You simply act. Momentum is not something you stumble into. It is something you build with sweat, consistency, and a refusal to let excuses lead. It begins the moment you decide that your goals are non-negotiable, that your vision matters more than your comfort, that your future matters more than your fear. When you commit, you take control. You reclaim your time. You align your behavior with your beliefs. And slowly, day by day, that momentum becomes your power. It carries you through doubt, through fatigue, through obstacles that would have stopped you in the past. Because commitment doesn't just get you started, it keeps you going. Excuses will always be available, but so will commitment. And the choice you make between the two defines the direction of your life. An hour a day can rewrite your story, not in dramatic fashion at first, not with fanfare or applause, but in quiet, steady movements that begin to reshape the way you see yourself and what you believe is possible. One intentional hour, carved out of the noise, reclaimed from distraction, and dedicated to something that matters, can become the turning point between who you've been and who you're becoming. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be impressive. It just has to be consistent. That 1 hour may be spent learning a skill, building a business, training your body, or sitting in silence to understand your own thoughts. Whatever it is, that time becomes sacred. It becomes your edge. While others are consumed by urgency and entertainment, you are building something invisible but powerful: discipline, clarity. Every day that you show up for that hour, you tell yourself a new story. I am someone who follows through. I am someone who honors my vision. I am someone who moves forward even when the rest of the world is standing still. That belief compounds, and over weeks, then months, it becomes identity. Identity becomes action, and action changes everything. You don't need a dramatic life overhaul. You need 1 hour. 1 hour where you stop scrolling and start building. 1 hour where you stop reacting and start creating. 1 hour where you stop waiting and start becoming. That hour becomes the foundation of a new reality. And it teaches you that time is never the real barrier. Intention is. Most people underestimate what an hour a day can do over the course of a year. They look for overnight change and miss the quiet revolution happening in those daily sessions. But when you stay the course, when you protect that hour like your future depends on it, because it does, you'll look back and realize something beautiful. You didn't need a new year, a new job, or a lucky break. You just needed 1 committed hour. And that was enough to rewrite your story. So if you take nothing else from this moment, take this: you are never as far away from change as it feels. You don't need more time. You need more intention. 1 focused hour a day given fully and consistently can shift your mindset, sharpen your skills, and shape your future. The life you dream of is not waiting for permission. It's waiting for your commitment. Start with 1 hour. Show up for yourself and watch how day by day, quietly and powerfully, everything begins to change.